Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to know why I'm here today? It's not because I want to give you a pep talk or because I want to make you feel good about yourselves. No, I'm here to tell you the truth.
Hey, hopefully my sound is working. Congratulations. You made it to the seldom watched, hardly anybody here episode of The Devil's Advocates. What a ridiculously small little group, but it's intimate, so we get to enjoy a very personal conversation. So while I do have a whole lineup of things to talk about, because it's so small right now in attendance, I am wide open for questions. Thanks for Stephanie saying that she was in the show last night, and it was a great show. I agree. I was going to start out a little bit with talking about Birdie's show last night. Funny how this goes, though. Like I apparently I cannot get excitement for my channel by myself, but when I go with Birdie, man, that place is crazy. If I go with Pete Altieri on Murder Metal Mayhem, which we're doing again on Thursday, the place is pretty crazy. Ali Benevento is going to be on the show on Wednesday, by the way, and I really hope that someday we can get the attendance up for her, because she's missing out. She needs to be in front of a whole crap ton of people. So anyways, let's start out with a couple of my highlights of what we're going to talk about for the usually they go about an hour, but if we only have like 5-6 people in here, then we'll do more questions and answers, less monologue, and maybe cut out a little early. Now, if it picks up as it sometimes does during the intro here, then we'll keep going. So I was going to talk a little bit about last night's live with Birdie. And I want to, just out of curiosity, for the few of you who are in here, how many people watched last night's thing? If you put a 1 in there if you were here. I know there's only a few of us here, but I know Stephanie was. Was anybody else here in last night's? Because I want to know if I should cover any of the stuff that he and I talked about much last night. Because if you were obviously there last night, then you missed it. Or that you already saw it. Cynthia was there last night. Okay. And Stephanie was there. That's 2/7 of our group right here. So you guys, I don't have to recap what Birdie and I talked about if you were there last night. Anybody else that caught it last night or didn't catch it? If I can get a 2, then maybe I'll cover some of that. I'm going to talk a little bit about that recent trip to Boise, Idaho I talked about with Birdie last night. I'm going to cover a little bit more about that because we didn't talk a lot about it on his show. So since those of you who are here and did see last night's, I'll fill in a little bit more information about that. Elizabeth also saw the show last night. See, Birdie's got this amazing show. When that guy goes live, man, hundreds and hundreds of people tune in. So it's a great thing for me to be able to get an exposure to the Hive, and I really appreciate everything that Birdie has done. So I'll talk more about that. I'll talk about the plans for the upcoming Kohberger trial, some of which you probably heard, or maybe a lot of you heard last night. So this is how I'm trying to gauge the room. If everyone was in last night's live, then I don't need to hit it so hard as I was going to for people who missed last night's live. So far, nobody has indicated they missed last night's live. We're going to talk a little bit about some of those Howard Bloom updates that I had. I'm going to try to put that on the screen without doing anything horrible. I should have queued that up ahead of time. Ooh, let's see here. Actually, you know what? I can. Give me a second. I'm going to go. Yo, I already have it queued up. Nice. All right. We'll get back to Howard Bloom's book here in a minute. And then we're going to cover some of the look aheads for the 2 live shows that we got coming up with Ali and Pete Altieri for the week and what that's about. We'll cover a few news pieces about Luigi Mangione, and then we'll show you some news stories that I'm tracking just as curiosity. Do a couple of 4 pieces of mail from the mailbox that I wanted to comment, users that left comments that I want to elaborate on, and then open Q&A. And again, because it's such a small audience, feel free to interrupt me at any time with a question or comment. I'll try to be watching them a little bit more heavily right now than I normally would. So last night on live with Birdie Bombshell, I told a funny story I thought was pretty funny about going down to Boise, Idaho and scoping out the area before the Bryan Kohberger trial, which I and plan to attend in person. I went to a local pub slash sports bar. Ran into a random stranger waitress who knew something about the Idaho 4 case. I'm still waiting to get the details from her. What she told me was pretty exciting. The moment that I had with that waitress was super embarrassing. I told that story on Birdie's show, but since everyone so far that's here has indicated they were there last night, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Stephanie, for showing my channel on your Facebook page. That's super awesome. Thank you so much. So I won't get into that too much. I'll talk a little bit more about that special trip. Let me see what they got here. Let me, you guys are on together. I'm just gonna put that on the screen so everybody can share this. Love the show last night. Love it when you two guys are on together. Very informative. Can't wait to hear more of the waitress and her mom's account. Yeah, I can't wait to hear that story from them as well. I'm really hopeful, but I don't want to press. I don't. With the way that conversation went with that waitress, I don't want to press my luck. So I'm going to hold off on messaging her for a good week or two. If I don't hear back from her, she's probably out and just got busy. But I certainly don't want to keep texting her and overstay my welcome on and not get blocked, from the phone. So we'll see how that goes. But when I went down to Boise, Idaho, I went down by myself. It's about a 3-hour and 40-minute trip. I did record, and I don't know if some of you, I think I would be able to tell if you're members. So I don't think I have any members only. So I have a membership tier program. $2.99 gets you membership to backstage access and some extra content. One of those extra content videos that I made was some raw footage from down at the courthouse. So I walked around the courthouse grounds. I took video footage of myself walking around talking about the courthouse, what the lay of the land looks like, where the public enters the courthouse for the parking garage. I also walked up on the jurors entrance. So as you walk into or as you drive into the parking lot where the courthouse parking lot is, there's one entrance for everybody, and then there's a side entrance towards a back alley for a juror's entrance. So I walked that, since nobody's there right now and there's no jury going on. I walked the back jury entrance alley, showed where the jury would be going in. Those are some just extra cool moments, I guess, if you will, that probably won't make it to a regular show. And welcome, Luz, for saying... yeah, for drop it in. Thank you so much. And I was going to say, how'd you know my name? Oh my God, it's on the screen. What a moron I am. Anyways, thanks for saying hi. So anyways, I did that. I went over to the detention center as well, and that's on the raw footage as well. What's funny about the detention center is that at the detention center, I saw it from the highway, this big detention center with all these obvious prison buildings, if you will, with the telltale obvious narrow slat windows and razor wire all over. But then when I came around the front side, I couldn't find that at all. All I saw was the sheriff's department office and a few administrative buildings and police cars with some razor wire around the police car parking lot. And I thought, well, that's weird. I just saw the prison or the detention center from the highway, but I can't see it from the front. So the front buildings are tall enough that it blocks the entire complex. And I saw no signs indicating that the detention center was there. So I thought this was just interesting. So I ended up driving some back roads and worked my way back behind the sheriff's office. And sure enough, there was a big open field, and I walked through the field a little bit. There was two pretty massive guards with guns and stuff like that walking around the grounds of the prison yard. And so I realized I was indeed at the backside of the detention center. However, and while I'm not afraid that the guards are going to shoot me if I walk up on the fence line, I decided not to cross the fence, the open field, even though there was no sign saying I couldn't do so. I just felt no necessary to walk up on the prison guards walking the yard from the open field and have them get all freaked out and wear out my welcome there. So I did get some video footage of that back detention center of the sheriff's office where I believe Bryan Kohberger is being housed. It's about a 7-minute drive from the courthouse. I went and I checked out the location that I'll be staying while I'm there in town. Nice little sports bar nearby with maybe a potential lead in the Bryan Kohberger story. Now, when I say lead, keep in mind the trial is on like Donkey Kong, right? We're not going to, nothing's going to break and change what's being presented. So anything that I could hear is not going to impact the story as far as I can tell. But I'm still super curious because, again, if you're not aware, basically the gist is that somebody indicated that they their family member is dating the guy who was dating Kaylee Gonzalez the night of the murders, who was not Jack DeCoeur. And maybe that boyfriend that she was dating was at the corner club. That would be huge information for me. I've long said that whatever happened that night stemmed from things that happened at the corner club that night, in my opinion. And so I was really curious to talk about that. But this girl kind of only peripherally knew enough of the details. She said, my mom really knows more of the details. You should talk to my mom. And so I'm waiting. I don't want to pressure a young girl to get her mom to talk to me, but maybe her mom will talk to me. And then if I do, I will bring that on for some exclusive interview or inside information with a grain of salt, because again, people talk and that don't necessarily have all the details, but it's worth talking about, I think. So just to let you know a little bit about the Kohberger trial, again, for those who are unaware, I intend to cover, it'll be my first actual trial that I'm going to cover in person. I have made multiple steps to make sure that I can get in. I have emailed the Ada County Courthouse for information. I'm not getting good information from them. All I got actually was somebody responding from the Ada County Courthouse saying, this is the wrong address. You actually want to email this address for that kind of information. So I emailed that address and I've heard nothing back. Their communication, in my opinion, kind of sucks. We're a little over a month away from the trial, and they're not answering basic questions like, do I have to stand in line as a public access? Or is there a button that we click in the morning? Will that button be available the night before? Because that's the way I understand it's going to happen. For those who are unclear, and again, fire questions at me if you don't want to hear this and or have other questions anyways, because this is pretty loose. So from what I understand, Judge Hippler has indicated that he's not going to really distinguish what is press and what's not press. Now, why is that important to me? Because I, as a business, I own a business that is true crime channel on YouTube that is considered media. Our Constitution does not distinguish between CNN and Lee the podcaster on The Devil's Advocate. So I am considered just as much press, because there's no extra protection for CNN or Fox than there is for the YouTube guy. And Hippler basically had indicated the same kind of thing, that he's not going to weigh in about arguing about who's press and who's not press. And he specifically mentioned YouTubers and such that are now considered press by some people's standards. And so where does that go? From what I understand, and I don't understand it fully, the courthouse is going to have one pooled press seat. If that literally means one seat, that they're having a pool, meaning every day it's assigned to a different member of the press. It could be CNN, it could be Fox, it could be Lee from Devil's Advocates. Your chances of getting in on any particular day are slim if that really means one seat. And it sounds like it's one seat allowed for press. Now, if that's the case, like I said, that's not the route I'm going to be getting in. I'll be trying to get in as public. As you may know from the courthouse, the actual courtroom where Bryan Kohberger is going to be is very, very small. Thanks for the comment about the story last night about the waitress. I thought that was hysterical. Anyways, so yeah, and also local media. Somebody pointed out local media. So the press seat may actually be for only Latah County, and so it may not actually be for CNN, Fox, or the YouTuber. It's for Latah County. So again, one pooled seat. And I don't know if that means literally seat. So everything else is going to be press. Now everything else is going to be public. Now here's the thing. The courtroom itself is very, very small, but there's an overflow room, right? I understand that overflow room is very large. The idea is that they're going to stream the court proceedings from inside the courtroom to the overflow room. And it is my understanding from best guess practices that the overflow room's video feed will be different than the internet's video feed, right? So they may be broadcasting this trial on the internet via the court website. You can click on the court website and click on watch the trial and you can get it. What you're going to see, I'm going to tell you for those who don't know, I'm going to tell you what I think you're going to see if you stay at home on your couch versus if you go in person, like I'm going to try to go in person. I may be completely wrong with it, but this is what I believe is going to happen. Hello, again, to everybody who's coming into the show late. So online, if it's streamed to the internet, like I believe it probably will be, the cameras will be focused, and this has been already stated by Hippler, I believe. The cameras will be focused on the counsel tables, which means there'll be a camera on the defense table where Bryan Kohberger is at and his attorneys, and then there'll be another camera on the prosecution table where Bill Thompson and his team will be, and then there will be another camera on the podium, whoever's up talking. And that is pretty much it. You may have seen, if you've been watching trial coverage so far in the pretrial hearings, the 3-panel pictures that they show. It's the 2 tables and the podium, and that's it. That's the same thing that's going to be presented online, I believe. Now, I don't know what's going to happen when witnesses are on the stand, because the podium is not the same as the stand. The podium is where the lawyers will question those who are on the stand. Whether or not they're going to cut away and show an image of the stand, I don't know. But what you won't see, I can almost 100% guarantee you, what you will not see, no, I know I can guarantee you, you will not see the jury. You will not see the jury on the live stream that's shown to the internet. So you will never see any of the jurors' faces, because that is, private for their safety. Their faces, their stuff will not be shown. Now, in the courtroom, obviously, if I'm sitting there in the courtroom and I'm one of the select few in the small room, I'll be seeing the jury's faces the entire time. I'll be able to watch their reactions. I'll be able to report to you what their reactions are. That is not forbidden for me as a reporter or the public for telling you what I saw inside the courtroom. So there's what I'm going to try to offer you some benefits that maybe you don't have from watching the stream online. And again, I recommend, if you're really interested in this trial and you want to watch the trial, if you can't attend in person, from home on the internet and stream it as much as you want, and then catch my lunchtime break. I'm going to step out during lunch when they let the jury go and have a break for lunch. I'll step out and do a recording of what I've seen that morning. At the end of the day, I'll do another 30-minute recap of what I saw during the day, and I'll try to focus primarily on the major highlights of the testimony, as well as things that you can't see if you aren't there in person, such as jury reactions, family reactions inside the audience when I'm there, and things like that. Now, the overflow room, in theory, also is going to have a camera that shows the jury. It's going to be, I believe, it'll be just like as if you were in the courtroom itself. So all the things that you can see, including the jury's faces, will be shown to the overflow room. So because obviously if the overflow room was nothing different at all than being at home on your couch watching it, then why would anybody come to the courthouse and sit in the overflow room? You just go home and watch it on your couch in your underwear. So as shown on the overflow room is essentially the best compromise. You can't be in the room with everybody, but you can see everything in the room. And that includes other things that you won't necessarily be able to see if you're watching on TV, such as crime scene photos. So some of the gruesome crime scene photos that show that people actually died and what their wounds look like, that may be shown to the jury and or the public who are there. I doubt, highly doubt any of that will be shown on the internet. That's too graphic of content. And so any exhibits that get shown on the screen will probably be seen by people who are in the courtroom and the overflow room. So once again, your benefit of following my channel, if now there's probably other YouTubers that are going to try to get into the courtroom, so you could of course follow somebody else, but I recommend you follow me. Of course, selfishly, I would recommend you follow me. I'm going to give you a full update of what the jurors look like, not meaning their description of their faces, but what their reactions were. Were they fully engaged? Did they look like they're always excited when the prosecution's talking and checked out when the defense is checking? All those things that we want to know. And how is this going for Bryan Kohberger or the prosecution? Does it look like the jury is already going to convict when they walk in the courtroom, or does it look like they change at any point in the trial? Is there a monumental moment that happens where some testimony comes out and you see a physical and a visible, visceral reaction change in the jury and things start to change? Those are the kind of things that I'm going to give you as I'm inside the courthouse. So that's it. Now, here's another thing that's going to be a benefit, and I haven't 100% decided if this is going to be member-only content or available to the public, but once a week, Ali Benevento, my criminal defense attorney from South Carolina, she's going to meet with me to talk about the Coberger trial proceedings for the week. I think she's going to try to keep up with my daily updates about what happened in the courtroom because she's busy and she can't watch the trial coverage. She's got her own trials that she's in, but then she will come on and talk to me. She's agreed once a week to talk about the trial. And so that'll be a great benefit to our users as well, to get a criminal defense attorney's opinions of my opinions. So I'll be sharing with her what I saw in the courtroom, asking questions that I see in the courtroom, asking her to clarify, and then you guys will have the opportunity to watch and ask questions of Ali Benevento as well. Now, again, whether that's open to the public or whether we do, I think we're going to do a 50-50. Allie and I will probably do about a half hour for the public, and then we'll do a half hour member only content for some more intimate questions about the case. And it's not outside the realm of possibility that my other attorney friend who I made friends with early on in TikTok, Cynthia Thornton, she's a New York attorney and Texas attorney. She may be coming on as well. She's been kind of busy lately with some personal issues. She's also said that she's interested in talking and going on a live with me soon. So I may be getting her in during the trial. So again, all of these reasons are reasons for you to consider. Neanne, welcome in, by the way. Thank you. Let me put this on the screen. What do you think about the new PA filings? Is Luigi going there or not? Are they arguing about it? Yeah, so let's get to that in just a minute. So I think we're done with giving you the kind of look ahead for the attorneys. Let's stop for a moment and jump into Neanne's question, because Neanne's only really here for the Luigi Mangione stuff, and most of this is about Bryan Kohberger. So let's do some respect to Neanne and get her some quick updates. As far as, here's what bothers me a lot. I went out and looked. I found an unofficial link. Somebody gave me the unofficial link about the filing from Thomas Dickey, so I think it's legit. However, it's not, of course, on Luigi Mangione's website as anything new. I could put that on my screen to prove it to you, but LuigiMangioneInfo.com does not have anything new in the Pennsylvania case. I went on to do a Google search, and they indicated March was the last update by Thomas Dickey, but yet I have been sent links to the document that suggests that Thomas Dickey has filed a motion, basically, I think, requesting a response from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. They are dragging their feet. They're dragging their feet in Pennsylvania on trying to make a decision about whether or not the arrest in Altoona, Pennsylvania was legal or not. And as you may know, Karen Ignifilo in New York was upset, as I was upset, as Ali Benevento. I just talked about Ali. Ali gave a video where she was super pissed off about how prejudicial it was for the state of New York, is how it already put out scanned images of Luigi Mangione's alleged notebook before it has been ruled whether or not it was a legal arrest. And as Karen acknowledges, and as my friend my friend Ali Benevento has indicated, they know damn well that there's a good chance that arrest was illegal in Pennsylvania. And they decided to do, in my opinion, this is a collusion. In my opinion, there's some collusion going on between the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the state of New York and the federal government in New York. And that collusion is this. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania purposely drug their feet, not ruling. They've heard both sides of the argument. Thomas Dickey indicated very, very early in March, that arrest was illegal in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and moved to dismiss the entire arrest and everything that was found in that discovery. The prosecution responded in timely fashion, saying, no, the arrest was legal. And Karen Ignifilo attacked the prosecution's stance. I attacked the prosecution's stance. We pointed out how in the prosecution's own argument, they made themselves look even worse, proving that it was an illegal arrest. And yet the prosecution, or the judge in Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, is refusing to rule on whether or not it's legal or not, allowing time for the state of New York to put in a document in front of the public everything that was in Luigi Mangione's notebook that they wanted to prejudice him with. They cherry-picked the pages that make Luigi Mangione look the worst, and then they put it out in a public announcement for everyone to see, knowing damn well that that arrest very likely could be illegal. And so it was a bullshit tactic. And now that the damage has been done, and the public has seen Luigi Mangione's so-called confession and Luigi Mangione's so-called manifesto, now that the damage has been done, and the state of New York got exactly what they wanted, which is to get prejudicial information out to the public so that everybody could know Luigi Mangione's guilty before he starts his trial. Now that we've done all that damage, I expect the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to finally now rule on whether or not the arrest was legal or not. And the cynic side of me feels like they have to say that it was, because we're in a shit show, in my opinion, if the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania determines that was not a legal arrest and that all of that stuff is not admissible. Because I don't know how you put the cat back in the bag in New York, who's already showed New Yorkers that Luigi Mangione allegedly confessed and had a manifesto. Let's get another question here. All of the bonfire videos, those were shown. I've never heard about them again. Any bonfire video gossip? Lofty, you'll have to clarify. Is that on the Coberger case? Let's put that away for a second, and I'll get back to that. Let's continue with this Luigi thing for a second. Can you tell me or can you tell from reading that document if the judge is ruling that Luigi should go to PA? I don't think that was addressed in there. And so I think Luigi Mangione, the issue is that Luigi Mangione, through his attorneys, has made the argument, we have the right to be present at our own trial, right? We have the right to face our accusers. And traditionally, that means look your accusers in the eye kind of thing. So what the government, or what the trend in America is that they want to say that, well, you don't have to be there in person. We can just put people on Zoom meeting and then Zoom calls and you can watch it. Luigi Mangione's attorney has said, no, Luigi Mangione is not waiving his right. He has a constitutional right to be in public, to face his accusers eye to eye. And so Luigi Mangione wants to be in Pennsylvania to face any charges on hearings. And so I don't think that the judge is going to deny Luigi Mangione that right to go to Pennsylvania and face his accusers face to face. That would be interesting if it does. I don't think that's the case, but I'm just guessing. We'll get back to the bonfire thing here in a minute here, Lofty. Dickey filed a motion that Luigi should be present in person in PA. He either changed his mind or the prosecution is fighting him on it. Yeah, I do believe that they want to fight. I do believe they want to fight on there's no need for Luigi Mangione to have to be in person. And to be fair, there isn't necessarily a need. One could argue that a Zoom call meeting is the same as being in person, but I think it's a strategic move to have Luigi Mangione asked to be present. It puts burden on the state to try to transport him and provide security for him both ways. It could be little more than a middle finger to the state of like, well, if you want to try me in 3 different court systems, then you can pay to shuttle me around. And hey, it would help Luigi Mangione get out and get some leg stretches and go for a ride from time to time and see the countryside. So as a prisoner, I think I would want that ability to be able to change my venue from time to time and mix things up. So I would imagine it's just good for mental health for Luigi to be able to get out from time to time. And if it costs the government money, well, that's too bad for them. They're trying to try Luigi Mangione in 3 different court jurisdictions at the same time. As far as the bonfire videos, I haven't spent a lot of time with the bonfire videos, and I realize that you're saying that there hasn't been, you haven't heard anything about them again. It's not apparently going to be part. Well, I shouldn't say it's not apparently going to be part of the trial, but I haven't seen anything in the documents on it. I'll have to go back and watch. It's been forever since I've seen several of the videos, the football footage, the Banfield footage, all the different footages that I've seen. Some of those things we kind of early on, and that's the thing with my channel. This is where I got in trouble recently. I tend to shy away from videos that could have been enhanced and manipulated, which is happening. There were several people who lost credibility in the site because fake stories were being put out, fake audios to make it sound like you hear screams on an audio at a certain time. And then it turns out that somebody with clever editing skills put the scream into the audio so that people would bite on it and say, see, you can hear the screaming at 3 o'clock in the morning. So therefore the murders happened at 3. So those kind of things happened. And I try to stay away from shit shows, like getting myself wrapped into something that I can't verify the integrity of. So I'll have to go back and readdress that again. And so my bad for not being more up on it. Let me get my glasses on for reading some of these comments here. PA is 1,000% better at handling Luigi's letter. I don't imagine a lot of people are sending letters to Luigi Mangione at PA, are they? That's interesting. That's funny. Let's see. Mangione is a testament, in my opinion, as to why our tax money should go much more to mental health facilities and less to addiction clinics. We hear forever and a day people self-medicate. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by the mental health issue. I will state for the record, and nothing against you, Lofty, at all, but I 100% believe that Luigi Mangione does not have any mental health issues nor drug issues. And it's one of the things that I tend to really shy away from, because I believe at the end of the day, this event is going to be about something more, and suggesting that Luigi Mangione has mental health issues, and because what we're saying at the end of the day, and I need to be careful how I say that. if we were going down the road of Luigi Mangione has mental health issues, what you're saying at the end of the day is no rational person would have decided to do what Luigi Mangione allegedly said to do. And yet there's a news story I have pocketed at the end of this episode talking about a recent doctor who went to school. He got a doctorate degree. He has high education. He shot somebody because of trying to somehow make a difference in the healthcare crisis in America. So to have and so what I'm saying is this: while I don't advocate any kind of violence, vigilante justice, anything like that whatsoever, I do not condone vigilante justice. However, to state that anyone who chose a different path other than writing to your senator clearly has mental health issues is not addressing the bigger problem in this country, which is that we have a crisis in America that's driving people to be so angry and so helpless at the system that they're fighting back in ways that we don't necessarily consider to be legitimate. And that's the bigger question. Luigi is rational in his mind. A good facility and resource would see he was not right in his mind, because in his mind he is right, incurable. Again, I don't want to riff too far back and forth, Lofty, on it, because I'm afraid I may not understand your points enough, and I don't want to get into where I feel like I'm disagreeing with you or agreeing when I'm not sure 100% have that. Leanne said, Luigi has no proven mental health issues. That is true. We have the defense has filed no motion indicating that Luigi Mangione is suffering from any mental health issues. There's been no indication whatsoever that the defense is going to provide some kind of insanity plea or temporary insanity plea or anything like that. There's no indications whatsoever that there's going to be an insanity plea in this, and I don't think that's going to be the case, even despite some lawyers saying, well, pretty much all Luigi has left is an insanity plea. I think it's too late for an insanity plea. I don't think his attorney is going to plead an insanity plea. That's completely the opposite direction the way I see things are going. That's funny. Luigi's got all the letters that people sent him while he was in PA. In New York, he's still getting December letters. I do agree. Luigi was still getting December letters, which is absolutely crazy. Makes you wonder if, since technically, and maybe I'm speaking out my ass here, but technically, Pennsylvania has not released ownership, if you will, over Luigi Mangione, meaning he's still basically being held in some way, but he's being allowed to be held in a federal detention system in New York. But Pennsylvania still has him as a person that they're holding. They haven't given him a writ of habeas corpus, letting him free to go, right? And so therefore, if he's still held by Pennsylvania, I wonder, Nian, if you have just discovered a loophole. Could we be writing to Luigi Mangione at Pennsylvania and they're required to get the mail to him even when he's in New York, because technically he's still a ward of Pennsylvania? He's just waiting his trial in Pennsylvania. Wouldn't that be funny if you could actually get your letters through to Luigi in a timely fashion by going to Pennsylvania to write to him instead of New York? That'd be hilarious. Anyways, someone who asked, WSU main source of money is Boeing company. U of I is funded by many individuals and foundations. Oh, the money trail and the Coberger thing. Yes. Let me make sure that we're kind of done with Luigi's stuff again, because Nian, I know, is in a time zone where it's very difficult for her. I don't need to cover for her the story about the shooting. I can't remember his name now, the shooter in January that had Monopoly money, because I know that she's up on that story. We've talked about it in my comments. The only forward, Leanne says the only forward letters for 30 days from PA. So I guess that loophole doesn't exist. You can't write to Luigi Mangione in PA and have him get it before the people in New York are getting in there. Damn it. I thought we had a loophole. All right. Before we let Nian go, because again, I know Nian likes to be only here for that, for the Luigi part. Is there any other Luigi specific questions before we get back into some Kohberger stuff and then wrap up with questions and answers at the end? Any more Luigi specific stuff? Lofty's asking Nian, what does your gut say? About I think you're asking about the mental health issues. She can answer that. I'll put it on the screen if she wants to answer that. Otherwise, I will reiterate. Well, I don't need to reiterate. I think I made it clear to you where I stand on it, that I don't believe that Luigi Mangione has any mental health issues. Any other questions about Luigi Mangione or, that case in particular before we move on to finishing up some thoughts about Kohberger and some questions and answers and some mail from the mailroom? Doesn't look like there's any more things. So, Nian, that may be, unless Lofty responds quickly and you guys want to have a little discussion on, or me facilitated discussion, that may be it, Nian, for Luigi Mangione. Only because the only other thing I was going to cover about Luigi Mangione is that news story about the shooting in January. But you are all over that, and I don't suspect there's going to be anything new. And I'm not sure if we're going to get it in now that we're a good 35 minutes into this show, and we're back on topic or on speed for where I wanted to be at about a half hour in. So I think we're good. All right. So thanks for dropping in, Nian. If you want to stay, of course, you are absolutely welcome. But we're going to move back to Bryan Kohberger and stuff like that. So one of the things I was going to point out is that so I do on my website, I have 3 cases that I'm following. We're not 100% done with Luigi Mangione. So Lofty is asking Nian, what does your gut say about Luigi's case? Do you feel he acted alone or part of a group? And if Nian just took off, I will answer that for her. Otherwise, Did you want to take a shot, Nian, or do you want me to just go ahead and respond to do I think he acted alone or part of a group? Because obviously I do have a lot of thoughts about that. At least Nian believes at least 2 people, not alone. So yeah, I think that's Nian's answer. That's kind of my answer as well. One of the very, very earliest videos I did on this case was, what if Luigi is just player 2? Luigi Mangione may not have actually been the shooter, but he may have been involved. There may have been a group of conspirators that were involved, leading law enforcement on wild goose chases, chasing after multiple individuals who were dressed similarly in dark clothing with backpacks and masks on. I see indication to this day that there may have been more than one person, possibly 3 people, who were dressed similarly, trying to lead law enforcement on wild goose chases. I believe that one of the earliest documentaries that came out indicated that the shooter went into Central Park, where specifically they dropped off of camera for quite some time and law enforcement lost them for quite some time. And then they picked up an individual looking like the shooter leaving the park at a different exit, and they followed that person, and that's where the lead went. And later they found a bag of Monopoly money inside Central Park, along with a TJ Maxx bag of clothing. And I asked the question, is it possible the shooter was working with someone and somebody else went out the other side of the park on a bike, and the shooter just simply took off their clothes and walked out the park as a civilian with all eyes focused on the bike leaving, because they're convinced it's the same bike that entered, and bam, we had the Luigi shuffle. And there is indications that the group could have been playing games using hidden imagery and symbolism, what I call Easter eggs. The Monopoly money is one of them. The X account using the Pokemon 286. All kinds of little Easter eggs that have gaming references for people to see behind the scenes that there was a game afoot. So I have long said that that's a very strong possibility. I don't know that I have moved 100% away from that as the trial proceeds. I do suspect there is a possible another accomplice or 2 involved in this situation. Oh, wow, Nian, I don't think I've seen the 4chan post with the player 1 or 2 dressed like the adjuster that said good luck, but that would be interesting. Maybe you can find it for me sometime. If not, I'll look into it and see if I can find it. All right. We are now really done for the moment with that. In Howard Bloom's books, I was going to tell you. So I've got 3 books. I just want to hit them again. I want to tell you a bit about my channel in case you're not aware. I'm following 3 cases. Luigi Mangione was my primary case that I started with. Right now, the Bryan Kohberger Idaho 4 case is the second case that I'm following. However, it is the one that is the hot topic. Whenever I cover Luigi news right now lately, it has been a little smaller audience and less people are into it because nothing's happening too much in Luigi's case. Now, that's not entirely true. His lawyer and the prosecution are fighting back and forth in court, and that's hot. But the trial is approaching for Idaho 4, and so all hands on deck are on the Idaho 4 case. So Bryan Kohberger is kind of like the main hot topic at the moment. Luigi Mangione, however, was my first case, and it was by far the crazier case over the Idaho 4 case, but things have flipped in the last few weeks for me and my channel. In fact, when I look at on YouTube, I don't see a lot of people covering Luigi Mangione. The real Nathan Daly does a little bit, but I don't know any other big names. So if you happen to know, by the way, any YouTubers who are covering Luigi Mangione on a regular basis, I would love to know so I can see what other people are saying, because I swear there's 12, 15 people I can think of who cover Idaho 4 and Bryan Kohberger's case, and hardly anybody. And I think I know why. I think people are scared shitless to cover the Luigi Mangione case because it's going to get people in trouble. Because if you have any kind of sympathy for Luigi Mangione, it looks like you are Status Coop News. Okay, thank you so much. That is a YouTube channel that I should check out, I'm assuming. So I will go actually cue that up real quick on my screen. Status Coop News. All right, there you go. I will thank you so much for that. So NP is coming in from watching last night's live. Hilarious. All right, so yes, I will check that out in the end. Thank you. So, and then my last case that I've just recently picked up is the Gilgo Beach murders. Rex Heuermann is believed to be facing trial next year sometime. We're in pre-trial motions right now. They're arguing over DNA, just like we're arguing over DNA in the Bryan Kohberger case. I don't know that we're going to be arguing over DNA in the Luigi Mangione case, but we very well could be arguing over. I really think we could be arguing over DNA in the. Actually, if the multiple accomplices theory is correct in Luigi's Mangione's case, we are going to be arguing over DNA in the Luigi case, because I have a hard time believing. Here I said I was done with Luigi, and I'm going to add an extra thing. One of the things that stuck out to me is that's not. They say that the shooter, Luigi Mangione, who they believe is the shooter, chewed chewing gum and left it in the backpack for the feds. So literally left his DNA at the scene for the feds. Chewing gum, saliva of the shooter left behind for the feds to get, along with a video showing that he's clearly holding a gun with bare. Okay, I'm going to riff a minute. I'm going to riff a minute on Luigi Mangione. Explain to me this. Riddle me this, people. You got Luigi Mangione, allegedly the shooter. The shooter in New York is barehanded holding a gun on camera, right in front of a camera. I mean, directly in front of a camera. Sets a water bottle down, or whatever, water bottle or gum, or a wrapper, kind wrapper, whichever one you believe it is, sets it down on top of a garbage can, right, or pile of garbage, right on top, in view of a camera, so that you see his bare hands touching the piece of evidence in camera view on top. Not even an attempt to bury it. It's like the shooter wanted to leave his, dropped the phone. Dropped the phone with his DNA fingerprints on the phone. Now you tell me why a shooter, follow the logic. This is a question I have. Why a shooter who's going to 5 days later confess to the whole thing and has no problem standing up for what he did is going to leave the scene and go on the run for 5 days? So you're going to leave your fingerprints on the gun, or you're going to leave your fingerprints on a water bottle or a kind wrapper. You're going to leave chewing gum with your saliva in a backpack. You're going to be seen on camera in multiple places, allegedly. Then you're going to go on the run for 5 days, only to say, yeah, I did it and I have no problem, and here's why I did it. Something doesn't make sense. Something makes no sense to me. And so I won't be surprised if a shocker comes out in this case that the DNA in the gum and the DNA on the kind wrapper is not actually Luigi Mangione's. I won't be surprised. They're telling us it is, but I won't be surprised. All right. And to go back to, like, I don't think it's mental illness, by the way, because some people are asking, why would he do that? You're right. I want to know why he would do that. To me, and I'm just giving you my opinions, my channel, right? To me, the answer isn't Luigi Mangione is insane and that's the proof he's insane. Well, obviously he's insane. No sane person would do that. I would say Luigi Mangione is perfectly fine. He is sane. And whatever happened there, there's something else happening. There's a different explanation, and the answer isn't he's just insane. All right. So I think that story is going to get a lot crazier and a lot more interesting as time goes by, is what I'm trying to say. Going back to what I was trying to say, 3 cases. In all 3 of my cases, I do book series. What that is a audio book on steroids. I read books that relate to the case in some way or another. The first book we read related to the Luigi Mangione case was An American Sickness by Elizabeth Rosenthal. Leanne, you can send it to, hold on, Devil's Advocates TikTok, because that's the email. I created this email address when I was only a TikTok channel. Now that I'm a YouTube channel, I really probably need to start giving out my more generic business thing, but all mail that I get right now is coming into Devil's Advocates TikTok at gmail.com. So if you want to send me the link to that, that'd be great. But anyway, so allegedly Luigi Mangione allegedly had a confession letter saying that he did the shooting in New York, and that he wasn't the best to explain what the problem is with healthcare in America, but that people, if they want to know, should read Elizabeth Rosenthal's An American Sickness. So I did that. We read the entire book. I read chapter by chapter. I broke down my thoughts. I related it to Luigi Mangione as often as possible during the entire book read to explain why, if Luigi Mangione really recommended we read this book, and if the book says this, what does that tell us about Luigi Mangione and the motivations for the shooting? That's how that series was done. In addition, by the way, we just finished An American Sickness by Elizabeth Rosenthal, and the next book that we're reading in the book series is Industrial Society by and I can't remember the full title. It's Industrial Society and something. It's Ted Kaczynski's so-called manifesto. Why the hell would I be reading Ted Kaczynski's manifesto? Well, first of all, let's be clear about one thing. Luigi Mangione and his attorneys have alleged over and over again, Luigi Mangione didn't write an effing manifesto. The journal, if it is his, and that is still an if, the journal, if it is his, is not a manifesto. A manifesto is a document written to be given to the public so that it can shape public opinion and tell people why they did it and how they should basically do the same thing. It's an appeal to the public. The notebook in Luigi Mangione's possession, the alleged notebook, has been referred to by both his attorneys in Pennsylvania and in New York as a private journal with thoughts about himself and his feelings about various things. It's a diary. It is not a manifesto. It didn't become a manifesto until law enforcement started telling the public what was in his private journal, and then telling people that Luigi Mangione intended the public to read his private journal. It was a private diary. That's the defense's position, and the prosecution telling America what was in his private journal and then saying it's a manifesto is only prejudicial. It's just designed to make people think that only killers like Ted Kaczynski or whatever have manifestos. Only mass shooters have manifestos. Anytime you hear of somebody doing some horrific event, the first thing you hear is, well, what did they say in their manifesto? A manifesto we link hand in hand with mass crimes, mass shootings. Luigi Mangione did not have a manifesto. Luigi Mangione, at best, had a private diary that was not intended to go public, and the police made it public, the prosecution made it public, and then labeled it a manifesto. I hope you've gotten that beaten into your skulls, because I do that on a regular basis. That was not a manifesto. Having said that, the whole reason why we're talking about it is we're discussing Ted Kaczynski's manifesto. That indeed was a manifesto. Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, which is a very, very old story. Maybe it's gone from your memory and consciousness, but Ted Kaczynski had a beef with industrial society, the way that society was moving. He started sending bombs in the mail to people. 3 individuals were killed. That's all. It seemed like it was such a bigger deal, but the way we treat Ted Kaczynski, you would think he was a mass murderer. He pales in comparison to mass shooters in schools nowadays. Just pales. It's pussycat stuff compared to what we're seeing on the news today. But his name goes down in history as one of these mass murderers because he killed 3 innocent people. And again, they were innocent. And Luigi Mangione had written a Goodreads account, which pretty much everyone believes is his account. It was Luigi Mangione's account, we believe. There's been no argument, even from his defense team, that the Goodreads account wasn't his. on his Goodreads account before he was arrested for this event, he had reviewed Ted Kaczynski's manifesto. And again, let me clarify, this is an educational channel. I like to educate people on things. Why is Luigi Mangione's alleged diary a diary, but Ted Kaczynski's thoughts are a manifesto? Well, Ted Kaczynski literally told the media when they hadn't caught him, if you publish to the public my manifesto, the things that I wrote explaining why I'm doing the things that I'm doing, then, you know, I'll turn myself over, or I'll stop doing what I'm doing. I think he said he'd stop doing what he was doing. It turned out that his brother, once he saw the manifesto, once it got published, I think it was his brother, noticed his brother's handwriting and whatever, or telltale marks of his brother's writing, and said, oh, I know who that is. I know who the guy is. So I think he was just saying, I'll stop doing the bombings if you publish my stuff. The fact that he wanted his manifesto published does rise to the level of manifesto. Now, all of that is my long-ass-winded way of saying we are now starting Ted Kaczynski's manifesto that Luigi Mangione called a really good read and had a lot of really important things. But according to Luigi Mangione, in his so-called confession letter and in the journal, Luigi Mangione took exception to the way that Ted Kaczynski went about his message, that he ruined his own message, Ted Kaczynski, because he killed innocent people. By killing innocent people, he became a monster and a terrorist. And according to the alleged words of Luigi Mangione, a terrorist is the worst thing a person can be. Now, let's stop for a moment. Boy, poor Nian. I told Nian I was done with Luigi Mangione, and here I am effing on Luigi Mangione again. I can't let it go. According to, if you believe Luigi Mangione did the things that they claim he did, the difference is Luigi Mangione made it clear he was not targeting an innocent person. He was not trying to target the civilian population like they're saying when they're trying to add the terrorism charge against him. Luigi Mangione meant to terrorize the entire population. No, Luigi Mangione at best, had a beef with the health insurance industry, and at best wanted to try to save lives by taking somebody out that he felt was responsible for taking lives on the order of thousands of lives. So one at best can argue that the shooter, whoever wrote the journal, that their motivation is that by taking out a person who was directly responsible for thousands of deaths by their policies and their company putting profits over people, that this was actually in the long run a good thing. But it was not meant as a terrorist act, and steps were taken. Steps were taken to make sure an innocent person didn't get hit. None of the bullets missed. All the bullets hit. Two bullets hit. They both hit their target. Nothing missed. It was done at a time of day when there was hardly anybody there. Steps were taken to make sure that innocent people didn't get hit. And again, all you see on mainstream media is Luigi Mangione killed an innocent man and father of two. In the logic, the shooter does not believe that Bryan Thompson is innocent. Bryan Thompson is responsible for the deaths of thousands due to the policies of United Healthcare under his watch. So you can keep trying to spin all day long that Bryan Thompson was just doing his job and making money for the shareholders, but this is the logic that we believe the shooter had. And again, whether that shooter is Luigi Mangione or somebody else is still to be determined in a court of law. Luigi Mangione should be presumed the presumption of innocence until proven guilty in a court of law. So make the feds and the state prove their case that Luigi Mangione was the shooter. And then furthermore, good luck having them prove their case that he meant to terrorize the entire population or a civilian population like all health insurance industry agents, when it seems like even if that notebook was his, he was very specifically targeting one person to make a difference. So we'll see. We'll see how that pans out. And then last but not least, we got the Gilgo Beach murders. I am reading Lost Girls, what's considered, I think, a premier foundational book for the Rex Heuermann case, the Gilgo Beach murders. I believe at the time Lost Girls was written, Rex Heuermann may not have been identified as the killer. It may have been all about the victims and how the victims, what they had in common. We're reading that book now. So again, if you like that kind of stuff, if you like deep dives, if you want to know the story behind the stories, because again, let's go back to Luigi Mangione one more time. If Luigi Mangione is the shooter, burying your head in the sand and saying, well, there's no excuse, that was an innocent man and father of two, execute the mother effer, without trying to understand why it happened. What went wrong? What went wrong in American society that somebody who's still of sane mind, because I don't believe Luigi Mangione has any mental issues whatsoever. Somebody of still sane mind decided that the only option they had left was something this drastic. Rather than pretending like the fucking problem isn't so drastic and just ignoring the problem, why don't we address the problem? I don't care if you agree with the method of addressing the problem. That's not the issue. I don't care that at all. The question is, let's not bury our heads in the sand on what happened in America, that it's gotten so bad that somebody would decide that this was the answer. And that's the drum I'm going to beat at the Devil's Advocates, is let's have that bigger discussion. And then let's also watch them make the case. Because here's the crazy thing in the Luigi Mangione case. Not only does a jury have to find that he was guilty of what they said he did, but they have to find that it was unjust. A jury has to agree that there was no justification for it. There's a strong possibility in this case that a New Yorker, one of 12 New Yorkers, will say, you know what? An exchange of one life for thousands is a good exchange. Somebody might think that. And if we do, we're going to have some monumental cases ahead of us, some monumental conversations. Fox Reuter says, do you think Bryan Kohberger could do with a male attorney like Alan Jackson, because he might get more respect from Hitler, who seems to have a problem with women? Really interesting question, Fox. I don't know. Well, I don't, as much as I hate to say it, I don't like Ann Taylor's presentation in court. She sounds flustered. She sounds intimidated. She stumbles over her words. She doesn't make a strong argument. I don't think she's a great orator. I think Ann Taylor is perfectly fine at baiting witnesses into incriminating themselves, which she will use later. She's been masterful, in my opinion, of getting people to admit things under oath and then quickly moving on to something else, and then coming back and reminding them what they said under oath, and then moving on to something else, and then coming back and reminding them what they said under oath, laying the foundation. She's really, really good at that. But I would love to see a different orator than Ann Taylor, because I don't think she's super strong. Now, as to your question, is Hitler somehow biased against women? That's an interesting question. I don't know that if I can prove that yet. He's definitely biased against the defense, in my opinion. He doesn't seem to give a shit. Like I have never seen, I've said this many times, I have never seen a judge in a case that seems already have to decided that the defense is wasting his time. We all know Bryan Kohberger is guilty, and even the judge thinks Bryan Kohberger is guilty, and he feels like the defense is wasting his time. That's the attitude I get from Hitler. Now, I hope to God, when this trial starts, that Hitler puts on his game face and doesn't look to the jury like he's as biased as he is in the pretrial hearings. Because in the pretrial hearings, Hitler seems to be all about the prosecution and not giving a shit about the defense. And he's taken steps every single way to give the prosecution anything they want and to deny everything the defense asks for. It is so biased. But is that a sexual thing? Is it a gender thing? Is Hitler not liking women? Or is he just doesn't like the defense? Or does he just not like Bryan Kohberger? So I guess I would have to ponder your thought, Fox, a little bit more to ask myself, is Hitler's issue, a misogynistic issue? Is he just not, he doesn't like women? Or is it something else? I'll have to think about that. Yeah, he does seem bored in court. And that I think has more to do with his presumption of guilt than it is about the gender, in my opinion. But I don't know. I'll take it under advisement. All right. So what have I done? I'm now 2 minutes away from being late on wrapping up. Let me put this comment on the thing here. Judy says, the rapper placed in view of the CCTV and the chewed gum and gray backpack blows my mind. If he did it accidentally, he wasn't thinking straight. If he did it deliberately, it was a decision to be caught. Judy, I agree. None of that makes sense. I do not, for the record, and I'm going to stick with this for quite a while, I do not, for the record, believe Luigi Mangione has any mental illness. That was not because he was insane in the moment or insane in the membrane. I couldn't help it. As soon as I said it, I was like, okay, that's where I'm going with that. Point being is, I don't believe Luigi Mangione is insane. I think Luigi Mangione knows exactly what he's doing. I think Luigi Mangione has left hints. I think Luigi Mangione has left hints in letters that he's writing to people that are getting published on the internet, that Luigi Mangione is playing a much more thought out game than you think. So at the moment, I think Luigi Mangione knows exactly what he's doing. And I don't think there was a mistake made, in my opinion. So I'm almost wrapped up. I wanted to give. I'm looking for a few more questions, and I'm going to put some mail on the screen to comment about, and then we'll wrap up. I want to remind you before I forget. Ali Benevento tomorrow night on my live, the death penalty special. We're going to talk about the death penalty in specific, how it relates to Luigi Mangione, who we're talking about, because the federal government wants to put Luigi Mangione to death and they want to execute him. We're going to talk about the death penalty and how it relates to Bryan Kohberger. Again, Idaho wants to put Bryan Kohberger to death, and they want to do it expediently. They want to execute him as quickly as possible. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the morals and ethics of the death penalty. We're going to talk about the problems with mitigating a death penalty special. That is going to be at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time with Ali Benevento, criminal defense attorney of 15 years. She's going to come on the show. She's got a super passion for the death penalty in particular. She's against the death penalty. She's going to give her thoughts about the death penalty. She's going to educate us from a legal perspective about how to mitigate the death penalty, what mitigation means, how it should be done. She's done federal cases. My friend is Ali is not just an attorney in South Carolina. She's also an attorney in federal cases. She travels around the country in federal and other federal cases. So she practices in South Carolina, but she also practices federally. She's got thoughts about that. We're going to talk about that. That's the death penalty special. And then Thursday night, so Thursday during the morning, we have a 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time live just like this. Again, I don't know why the attendance is so low. Maybe people don't relate to an old guy. I don't know what the case may be, but I can't pull in an audience for shit. But you know what? I'm still doing it, and I'm still putting passion by it, and I still get my blood pressure up, and I get fired up, even if there's 12 people in here. But it's funny when I go live with somebody else. We'll have hundreds of people in a room. I go live by myself. Nobody shows up. It's crickets. Well, not nobody. You guys showed up, so thank you for doing that. And anything you can do to help us out would be better, because the more people I have in, the more energy I get. Although I think I do pretty well on energy, whether there's a few of us or not. Point being is after 12 p.m. On Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, me or myself and Pete Altieri, Murder, Metal, Mayhem. We're going to talk about crime scenes, mass murder crime scenes. We're going to relate Idaho 4's mass murder crime scene to scenes like the Charles Manson murders, the Pike County, if you remember the murders, the Roden families, and the two different families that were murdered in two different trailers on the same night. We're going to talk about those things on Murder, Metal, Mayhem. We call that Devil's Mayhem on Thursday at 5 p.m. So then Friday night, this is the last thing I'm going to do to plug, and then we're going to do some mail, and then we're out. Friday night, we have 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time live, my normal live for about an hour. And afterwards, if you're a fan of The Hive, or if you're here from The Hive and you follow Birdie Bombshells, who has a massive following, right, compared to me, Birdie is going to have some drinks, and he's going to come on, and we're going to have drinks after hours, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's going to be a not so sober version of Lee and Birdie Bombshell. I know his first name, but I don't want to say it because I don't think I've ever heard him say it on camera. So I don't know that he gives out his name. But anyways, we're going to have some drinks. We're going to cut loose on an adult only after hours show at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Friday. All right. So, and the Fifth Element says she has some info for you before you talk to the Idaho girl or her mom. Sweet. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to hear that. Let's cover a little bit of mail. I don't know if you can stay around. Fifth Element, maybe you can you mail me that information, or let's talk. I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you about that. That's super exciting. Let's get into some mail real quick. I'm going to try to add this to the stage. And how come it didn't show? Well, because I wasn't doing this. All right, here we go. Some mail from the mailroom. You didn't get to see my little animation that it flew in with because, I screwed it up. But this is from Cipher Clue, some mail that I got on YouTube. If the defense, this is a Coberger issue here. If the defense states that law enforcement received Bryan's name from the FBI, jurors will most likely believe that the lead is legit. Most assume that if the FBI passed Bryan's name along to law enforcement, then the lead has to be credible, right? Most Americans will assume or give the FBI the benefit of the doubt because, well, they're the FBI, right? And yeah, that's something that bothers me a little bit as well, because again, in case you're not super familiar with this, and I'll try to be brief because we're really out of time. I usually go about an hour. We're already past an hour. Courtroom Labs developed DNA from the so-called DNA left on the knife sheath at the murder scene of 4 individuals. The only piece of DNA linking Bryan Kohberger to the case is one piece of DNA the size of a grain of sand or smaller that was left on a knife sheath. Courtroom Labs was contracted by Moscow PD to develop a profile. They couldn't come up with any name that was good, so the FBI asked to take over the DNA evidence. The FBI, after taking over the DNA evidence, did some questionable things and came back with the name Bryan Kohberger. They didn't want to have to, and this is my summation, they didn't want to have to explain how they got Bryan Kohberger's name from the DNA. They've stated that they have not said Bryan Kohberger's DNA was at the scene, despite the fact that to this day, everybody keeps saying Bryan Kohberger's DNA was found at the scene. That's a long, convoluted argument in the law about why that people are still insisting Bryan Kohberger's DNA was found at the scene. But after the FBI developed in secret their development of the DNA to get it to Bryan Kohberger, they then gave a tip to, that's what they called it, a tip, because they knew telling everyone how they developed the hit, the genetic genealogy databases that were used to get Bryan Kohberger's name wouldn't stand up in a court of law. So knowing that it was going to be challenged, what they just said was, hey, Moscow PD, you should be looking at this guy named Bryan Kohberger, wink, wink, nod, nod. Trust us, this is the guy. And then once Moscow PD had Bryan Kohberger's name, a month after the murders, they then found all kinds of circumstantial evidence putting Bryan Kohberger at the scene, and away we go. So ultimately, what they're trying to do, and this is what this user is pointing out, is that in court, they don't want to have to, they still don't want to have to present to a jury how they got Kohberger's DNA at the scene. What they want to do is they just want to say, hey, the FBI gave Moscow a tip that it was Bryan Kohberger, and that led them to finding all this information about Bryan Kohberger. And as this person is saying, will a jury hear that the FBI had the tip on Bryan Kohberger? Will that be good enough for them to go, well, it must be true because it's the FBI. The FBI doesn't get things wrong. So if the FBI said that that's the guy, it's probably the guy. All right, so let's take another piece of mail. So this user says, doesn't everyone clean their car after a long trip? If you have kids, that post road trip cleaning is scary. Now, I don't understand the last sentence, but this was what came to mind was hilarious. So the discussion that's happening here is, again, the media has spun that Bryan Kohberger, after he left Pullman, Washington, a month after the murders, went back to Pennsylvania where his family lives with his father in the car. His father flew out to Pullman. Bryan Kohberger and his father, Michael Coberger, drove back to Pennsylvania, across the country for days to get back to their home. And when he got there, Bryan Kohberger was cleaning out his car. Oh my God, he was cleaning his car, clearly trying to clean up the murders that happened a month ago, because the guy wasn't smart enough to clean up his car a month ago. He's now going to clean up the car a month afterward, and after driving across the country with his father. And it couldn't be, for God's sake, that him and his father eating Doritos and throwing bags in the back seat and shit all over the place, and sweaty gentlemen in a car for freaking 12, 15 hours a day or more driving in a car. The car might have stank. It couldn't be that the guy wanted to clean out his car after a long road trip. It have to be that he was out there trying to clean DNA out of his car. That shit is so asinine, it almost doesn't. And when this user said, doesn't everybody clean their car after a long road trip? And then I see this part about kids posting their road trip cleaning as being scary. And I thought, wouldn't that be a hilarious video of putting some creepy music to a kid that is driving across the country, throwing shit in the back seat, and then when he gets out, he starts cleaning his car, and we put some creepy, like, freaking Friday the 13th music under bed, like, oh my God, what is he doing? He's cleaning his car. He must be a mass murderer trying to clean up the DNA and not freaking the Dorito bags that have been thrown in the back seat. Anyways, I get on tangents. 2 more pieces of mail. This is a user who doesn't like Bryan Kohberger, clearly, Nikki NN, and this one makes me rant. I'll try to keep my rant relatively low. Bryan is guilty, and if you would, and you will all be embarrassed once he's sentenced to death. DNA, phone stalking, writing papers on how he would commit the exact crime, 2 witnesses placing him there, plus more and more. It's weird, the trend lately, with people claiming to clearly that clearly guilty subject is innocent. Find something better to do with your lives than putting false info out there. Holy shit. Nikki, I want to have all respect to my users, but oh my God, everything you said is asinine. And let me tell you why. The DNA evidence is being fought over in court and has been since day one. It's sketchy as hell. I don't know why you don't understand that. The phone stalking, the prosecution has come out under oath and literally said, we were wrong. Bryan Kohberger stalked no one. There is no stalking. They've admitted it in court. You still hold on to Bryan Kohberger was stalking people. What the hell is wrong with you? Let's go on to the writing papers that exactly talk about how the crime is going to be committed. No, he was a criminology student. He literally wrote a paper on how do people pick their victims, because that is required of his coursework. A professor signed off on it, considered him brilliant, and listed him as one of only 2 candidates that she recommended for the PhD program in WSU because he was a brilliant criminology student. That was his effing career choice, to go into law enforcement or to go into criminology and understand how criminals think. What he wrote about, and that Reddit post, again, salaciously, that the media goes on and on and on about, oh my God, he literally wrote a paper about how he was going to kill people. No, he wrote a effing research paper for college, which was approved by his professors. What the hell is wrong with you? I'm not the one who should be embarrassed here. Also, there's 2 witnesses that place him at the scene. For F's sake, Dylan Mortensen is one of those people who was passed out drunk, said that she was so drunk she's not even sure it happened. She's not sure she's remembering it right. She didn't call 911 for 9 hours. Her story is sketchy as hell. She thinks he had bushy eyebrows, but then admits she only saw 1 eye, not 2 eyes. When shown a picture of Bryan Kohberger, she couldn't identify Bryan Kohberger, so she clearly did not see Bryan Kohberger at the house. No eyewitness saw him at the house. That is, and you're going to keep repeating this shit over and over and over again. What is wrong with you? Who should be embarrassed here? Holy shit, I'm on a tangent. Last thing, that second eyewitness, if you're talking about the DoorDash driver now, who suddenly after 2.5 years is coming forward saying, yeah, I'm the DoorDash driver and I saw Bryan Kohberger outside the house with his mask off, looking right at the house. For F's sake, are you kidding me? This last minute witness is a joke. But I'm the one who should be embarrassed. I'm the one that should be embarrassed. Let me point out one last thing. I don't mean to attack this user like I did, because it's not personal. What is personal is the mindset like this, that we should be embarrassed for presuming a person's innocence until proven guilty in a court of law. That is the bedrock of American legal system. We should be presuming their innocence. What should be embarrassing is that Americans out there who still think that whatever the media tells them is the truth and convict people before they've ever had a single day in court. You should be embarrassed, anyone who has the attitude that that person should be guilty before they've walked into the courtroom. Hang that guy. He's guilty. Already done. Trial's over. Thank God you are not on that jury. You will never be on a jury. If you ever air your opinions to a judge that a person's guilty before they stepped into the court, you're not on a jury. You better get better at hiding your bias. And I will never be embarrassed for presuming a person's innocence until proven guilty in a court of law. All right. One Luigi Mangione mail. I'm way behind. And then we will cut out with the last minute questions and answers, and we're done. This is on Luigi Mangione. The number of American doctors applying to practice in Canada has skyrocketed. They're sick of fighting with insurance companies. This is it was a comment that made me think, is that true? So I had to look up some things. It is true that, from what I can understand, that there is a trend of doctors going to Canada, and that includes a large number of doctors from the United States going to Canada. Apparently, there is a plethora of reasons why doctors are moving to Canada, one of which is that Canada's healthcare system apparently has a shortage of doctors. And so they're reaching out, and the international community is making it more, or I should say Canada's making it more incentivized for doctors to come to Canada because they're short on doctors. That's one reason doctors are going there. Yes, I think doctors are sick and tired. And yes, doctors have publicly stated that part of one of the reasons why they decided to go to Canada, if they go to Canada, was because the American healthcare system is a mess and they're tired of dealing with insurance companies. So it is true. But whether or not the entire thing is all predicated on the healthcare system is tough. And here's the thing. It's usually a combination of things. When people are thinking about taking that job in Canada, it's usually like, man, Canada's offering this sweet job, and I'm kind of getting tired of this other shit anyways. So at the end of the day, when you ask the person, why did you go take a job in Canada? They might tell you, I went there because the pay was better. And you're like, see, it wasn't about the healthcare system. Well, people are more complex. All of these things factor in. So yes, I think it's true. People could be moving larger numbers of doctors are moving to Canada because one of the mitigating factors of that decision to go to Canada would be maybe they're making a good job offer. Maybe I like, the area in Canada a lot, and maybe I like less political shit going on in the news, and maybe I like the idea of getting away from the American healthcare system. All of those things play into a person's decision. So I think it's a great point, and I just thought it was worth mentioning. All right, I think I'm done. Do we have any last minute questions, comments, or concerns as I'm wrapping up? I usually go about an hour. We've got an hour and 15 minutes. So last minute questions or comments? Yeah, I know that there's videos out there saying it's not possible that the DoorDash driver saw Bryan Kohberger at the scene that day, and I'm looking into all those things. Again, I'm careful about weighing in too much on everybody's ideas, but I agree. Well, I should say this: that DoorDash driver's testimony should be really, really suspicious, and it bothers me because what it says to me, in my opinion, what it says to me is the prosecution is now concerned that they have a little weaker case than they thought they had, so they're looking for a last-minute bolster of their case. I wouldn't call it a Hail Mary, but they're like, okay, we're about to go to court, and they're going to fight us on every single thing. Let's see if we can find somebody that we can lean on and get them to testify last minute. After 2.5 years of keeping your silence, let's see if we can lean on somebody to come forward and say they saw him there that night. And you know what? A dumb jury will hear, I've got somebody that literally saw him walking in, and we're going to take that person's testimony as proof. Get it on camera, people. If you got Bryan Kohberger walking in his face on camera, well, I'll be with you. I'll be with you. But if you're going to take a DoorDash driver with multiple run-ins with the police, addiction problems, all kinds of other things, and you're going to put her up as the proof that Bryan Kohberger was there that night, along with Dylan Mortensen, who saw one bushy eyebrow, maybe if she wasn't drunk and passed out and dreamt for the whole thing. No, I'm not going there with you. Thanks, Stephanie, for coming in. Thanks for the support, saying it was a great show. I appreciate it. Yes. Lou's there and says exactly the point that I wanted to make, and I forgot about it. Thank you so much. Court documents actually say Dylan Mortensen was the only person alive to see the killer. Oh, wait a minute. If we've known for 2.5 years that Molly, the DoorDash driver, saw him outside and saw his face, then that statement is a lie, and that's correct. I'm looking for it, Luz. I've been looking for it to find it again, because I think you're right. We actually have a document somewhere in the court system that actually says DM was the last person to see the killer alive, or the only person to see the killer alive, or see them at the house that night. So now in comes 2.5 years later, a DoorDash driver who suddenly sees him there. Horse shit. Neon stayed until the end. Holy shit. Thank you so much. And thank you for sending the email. Thank you so much. Susie came in only 10 minutes ago. I was blowing a freaking blood vessel with my intensity. Payne's affidavit. Lewis says Payne's. So Payne's affidavit. I'm going to look for this. If I get time to look for it, because I want to see it. I believe you're correct. My memory serves me that we did see in a court document. So if it's Payne's affidavit that Dylan was the only person to see Bryan Kohberger, then screw this narrative that's coming out now last minute where the DoorDash driver suddenly saw Bryan Kohberger there that night. And again, will the jury get told that that person hasn't seen Bryan Kohberger for 2.5 years, and now all of a sudden, right before trial, when the prosecution has a case that they're afraid is losing ground, that they're going to come up with an eyewitness that hasn't spoken for 2.5 years? My ass. Anyways. All right. I think that's it for people. I need to get some things done for tonight. Whew. In fact, I'm going to be trying to watch Birdie Bombshell's interview with William 127, the friend of Bryan Kohberger. He got a hold of William 127. I meant to say this early in the night. According to what I've been told, Birdie and I on a live, I think we watched both of William 127's videos. Then right after Birdie and I talked about those videos on YouTube, not because of us, but right after we talked about that, William's videos got pulled off of YouTube. It said removed by the user's request. There's some argument about whether or not William pulled his own videos or whether he was forced to take them down. In either case, Birdie, the badass, has managed to get a hold of William. They've had like a 45-minute phone call, and William's coming on Birdie's show tonight. So I've got to take care of some errands and get my ass back so I can try to watch that live. And I will just be I will be in the peanut gallery. I'm not taking the mic. I'm not going to be with Birdie. I'm not going to ask to come up, but I'm looking forward to hearing that as well. So that's it, people. Let's last recap. Tomorrow night, the death penalty special with Ali Benevento, criminal defense attorney from South Carolina over 15 years. She and I will be talking about the death penalty and how it relates to Bryan Kohberger and Luigi Mangione in the two cases that I follow. Maybe even in Rex Heuermann in the third case I follow. Thursday morning at noon, or I don't know what you call that morning. Thursday at noon Pacific Standard Time is a live just like this one Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, my regular live for about 1 hour, followed by the After Dark Party. That's on Discord. It's broadcast on my Backstage account, and by the way, I think I can put this up for just a second. This should have the Discord channel. If you want to get it queued up ahead of time, you can join my Discord. We have some drinks. We get irreverent. We drop a lot more F-bombs. We talk about other cases like P. Diddy and stuff like that. Shit, I was going to talk about P. Diddy. His trial has some updates. We're not going to talk about it now. It's too late. I'm out of breath. But P. Diddy had some updates. We talk about Karen Reed's recent acquittal. Everything. And crazy shit will happen, I think, of Birdie and I are having some drinks. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Appreciate you being in the show. Hope you have a great day. And I will ask Allie what she thinks about Luigi going to PA. I will do that, Nean. Thank you. All right. I'm out. Take you later.